Hello there. 3 clips in one day is certainly a personal record, and you might be someone who would say maybe he's lonely if you just didn't know how much wine I have with me. You can't be lonely when you got friends, my dude. And my friends, they're gonna let freedom ring. Liberty Creek Chardonnay. And yeah, my dude. Friday, the 27th of March, 7:35 p.m. and it's 2026. And I'm just outside of Atkins. Ooh, listen to that, man. And the rain did stop, considerably. Like, if it doesn't rain again tonight, I'll feel like I was kind of shortchanged. I mean, honestly, it would have just been a perfect amount of rain because it's like, well, I had plenty of time to dry out. I set all my camping stuff up perfectly well in dry. And if it starts to sprinkle again, I can make a very swift and easy retreat to the tent, and I can just be cozy. But as of right now, I'm next to this nice little campfire area. I'm sitting on a log, and I'm about to take my first sip of this. Oh, their slogan is freedom to roam. Hey, cheers to that. Let freedom ring. That's good. Yeah, it was a really good day, 26 miles. I don't feel any worse for wear. It would be interesting to go. I don't know if I'm going to have. I don't think I should get rid of my shoes. I feel like my dad. I could almost hear him saying like, "Don't do that," when I was considering it. But yeah, even just walking to this campsite on relatively flat but wet ground, these sandals are very, very slippery, and they would be pretty much useless in more challenging terrain. I still think that they're the go-to shoe when it comes to road walking, but as far as being on trail, I think I got to keep my trail runners. I'm sure there's probably a more aggressively treaded sandal, which might be something for me to consider. That would be me having my cake and eating it too if I got an aggressively treaded sandal. And I do have quite a few REI rewards points that are kind of burning a hole in my pocket. If I had been a little bit more strategic, I could have gotten a massive discount on the pack that I just bought. But I wanted it now, and I also wanted it to be a part of my Damascus experience. The rain is starting to trickle down again. We'll see. Like I said, as soon as I set up my tent, I said to myself, I was like, man, I kind of want it to rain now. Like I won. Like I perfectly managed my time in town. Ooh, it is starting to rain a little bit more aggressively. I'm going to require it to rain a little harder than this before I make a retreat, because I really don't want to sit in my tent if I don't have to. But it does sound like it's increasing in volume. I don't know, can you hear that? The soft little pitter-patter on fairly wet leaves. Today was certainly a wet day at a point. Probably at least an hour, it was raining pretty continuously. Not necessarily super hard. There were a few gusts that got my dander up. I was just like, are you serious? Like, it's already really crappy out here. Like, do you really have to like blow it? Do you really have to like, accentuate the conditions by blowing me? Like, I don't know. The wind always just is such a compromising force, It just makes everything worse, except for hot weather. Then it makes everything better. So, go figure. Who knows? But yeah, this is a really cool little campsite. I just went to the spring, which is 0.1 miles down from the site itself. And the spring had a lot of high praise. People were talking about how it's like a continuously fed natural spring and some of the highest quality water that some people thought they've had on the whole trail. Am I going to need to go to my tent? Should I continue to wait? Or is that stupid? I don't know. I guess I'll continue to wait. I'm going to use my shirt cuff as a canary in the coal mine, and as soon as I get a certain amount of dribblings on it, I'll go back to my tent. But as of right now, this is definitely endurable. And I do want to say I was out of service for like at least 18 hours, which was kind of interesting. Mostly just because I was bored that I didn't have the ability to listen to any new podcasts or any new Notebook LM stuff, or maybe try out a different audiobook, one that I hadn't downloaded but was part of my library. But also, it's okay not having service again. I feel if that's not breeze, then that means that's rain, and that definitely sounds like it's intensifying. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to my tent. No need to like bring all the wetness into my sleeping bag area. And I said I wanted it to rain, so hey, I guess somebody was listening. Let's get in, shall we? It's just like the annoying part of being in your tent, if you're not quite ready to be there, is that like I can't bring my feet in because like still have my nasty socks and sandals on. But let's just take a seat. Much better. All right, that's actually not that bad. But let me do some quick arrangement. I wasn't expecting visitors, so just a moment while I spruce things up a little bit, Put my internal door of the inside of the tent, rolling that up so we got a little bit more room between us. All right. I think that's good. I suppose, yeah, it's certainly better than being out there, no doubt about that. So yeah, I got full water. I'm all set up for the evening. I have my burrito meal, which I think is probably going to be a little bit of a strange thing to eat in my tent. I was hoping it'd be just like a burrito in like foil, something easy to eat with your hands, but it's like something that it's more like, I think it has like rice and beans, and who even knows, but it'll be good. That part I do know. And I should say, at a minimum, it is nice that the rain is going to stop overnight, so my tent might even be dry by the morning, and it's not supposed to rain tomorrow. At least I don't think so. Let me turn on my service real quick. Hopefully I don't get inundated with a bunch of buzzes. I feel like people have been worried about me because they couldn't contact me. Shout out to everyone who tried to contact me that I couldn't get back to. Let's see, drizzle. Tomorrow, the high 46, that's chilly. Yeah, we're not seeing any rain until next week, middle of the week. 0.19 inches on Wednesday. 0.37, that's getting a little bit more concerning. 0.39, that's some serious stuff. 0.15. Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure where I am in relation to things, but if I was ever going to take a zero, it would be somewhere within that rainy section. Like taking a zero is never a bad idea, but for me personally, if I'm going to do one, I would rather it be a multifactorial victory where it's not strictly just rest and relaxation. I'll tell you, there's nothing more restful and relaxing than being indoors when it's really bad weather outside, and knowing that outside would have been your default and that you basically dodged a huge bullet by, avoiding the weather and also doing it strategically. So if I can somehow plan, like if I could be close to Woods Hole, now that I actually have service again, I can actually do some meaningful logistics and not just do it haphazardly while I'm outside of restaurants and Dollar Generals and gas stations and stuff like that. It's just like, well, I think 2 days of food will get me to where I'm going. I'm not really sure. It's hard to say. I haven't had like a consistent ability to like track my own progress and make my own plans. But again, that's fine. Ooh, and also, like, I am uniquely sore from the new pack, which I actually will say is a bit of a luxury that I'm enjoying, because the old pack, like, I basically knew exactly where and how that was going to hurt my body on any given day. And this new one, again, because it still has all of its straps intact and all, like I can kind of adjust it while moving so that I can let certain parts of my body rest. And it's been a good learning experience. And the way that it's making me sore feels more like strengthening, whereas the other one just felt more like degrading, you know? So I don't know. I love the Osprey pack. It did a great job for the years that I had it, but I certainly won't miss it, you know, unless I get a new one and it's really cool. So, yes, from the point where I last left off, I was walking this morning, you know, made that quick recording. Where did I sleep last night? Where was that? I tented somewhere. Was that? Where was I last night? Man, I can't remember. I know I was outside of Troutdale. Oh, right. It was at that horse camp gap, Appalachian Trail crossing area. So I got up at I think it was like 7:22 maybe. And, you know, I was ready to get up and get out and get going. I was really hoping that Troutdale would have something special for me, and it did not. You know, again, one of the unfortunate parts about being so early out this far in the hiking season is that like a lot of stuff isn't open yet, which is why when I was thinking about Balsac, if she had been 400 miles ahead of where she was, which was Damascus, again, that would have put her somewhere in the Shenandoah area. And it would be such a tragedy to walk through that area, the Shenandoahs, and not have any of the waysides open. I'm still about 300 miles away from that, so at my current pace, that's probably 2-ish weeks, which would put us, you know, kind of in the early mid-April area. So hopefully all the waysides and all that kind of stuff will be open, because I too would be disappointed to be walking through there and not have access to all the goodies. That actually would be something. I'm going to put that on my list just to see. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. So if they're not open, they just won't be open. When do waysides open? Okay. Save that for later. Again, I have service, so I can finally do my digital needfuls tonight, which being like a half day behind really feels like it kind of adds up quickly, you know? So yeah. I walked like, I don't know, maybe 4 miles to get to Troutdale, and I went into the store. It was like the only store that was there. And as soon as I walked in, it was kind of like an antiques kind of store. And I was like expecting to see like, you know, tables and a kitchen and coffee and maybe a couple of 60, 70-year-old dudes like in overalls and like trucker hats look up at me when I strolled in and be like, who's this dude? But instead I was met by tchotchkes and little forget-me-nots, you know. So yeah, I did not get to have any kind of breakfast at all. No coffee, no water even, no nothing. I had enough that I was like, well, there's supposed to be something like 8 miles from here, further towards the direction that I'm going, in a place called, I think it was Sugar Grove or Sugar Valley or something like that. And I was like, well, I'll just aim for that and hope for the best. And so walked for another 8 miles, just chilling, you know, and got to a Dollar General, which I had no idea was there, but I did have a vague memory of being there back in 2020, because I have been going on a lot of roads that are concurrent with the USBR 76, which is the Transamerica Bike Route. And the Transamerica Bike Route did indeed go through Troutdale. I remember going through Troutdale on the bike ride and be like, man, Troutdale sucks, like, respectfully, because I was thinking in my mind that it was actually Daleville, and Daleville does not suck. Daleville's got like a ton of stuff. It's got an outfitter, a Kroger. It's got everything you could want. And so I remember being disappointed when I went through Troutdale in 2020, but I was not disappointed today. By the time I got there, I was ready for like a pretty nice breakfast. So I bought myself, I got a Naked Juice, a Dunkin' Donuts classic coffee, a thing of wine because I didn't want to screw myself over, and a pack of strawberry peanut butter Uncrustables, which I ate frozen. Sat outside, charged my phone, and tried to interact with people as much as I could, but I don't know, there's like people aren't expecting to see hikers in Troutdale. Most of the people who said anything to me at all seemed to recognize what I was doing and why I was there, but there were no in-depth conversations, which, fair enough. Sometimes it'd be like that. Sounds like the rain has subsided, so let me open up my little thing so I can watch some equivalent of TV, which is just to say staring out at some trees. And so, yeah, Troutdale was good. I enjoyed my little weird snack, and then I pressed on. I'm trying to think, how far was it? Because Troutdale, or no, that wasn't Troutdale, Sugar Grove or whatever. I had to go up and over. I took some road for a long time until I got to another road called Nix Creek. And Nix Creek was a pretty sweet little shortcut in between the route that would follow the Appalachian Trail that would take me. The crazy thing is, like, the Appalachian Trail not only is longer than the roads that I rode today or walked today, but it also doesn't take you into Atkins. So, like, it would be a 3-mile walk off trail and unproductively to go from the trail intersection all the way to Atkins that has the Dollar General. And so I planned my day so that I walked straight through it, and it was just very, very efficient in that respect. So I was able to go to a Subway once I finally got into Atkins proper, and I had a little pick-me-up half of a foot, 6-inch sub. Drank some water, had a cup of coffee. It was a Circle K, and it's great. I love this. Like, most gas stations, it seems, have upgraded to, I've talked about this before, but they have like these like made to order coffee makers instead of having like this stale, stagnant pot of coffee that's been there since 6 a.m. that tastes like garbage. Like, you have like a fresh brewed cup of coffee. It's like Keurig on steroids, basically. And that's funny because I really don't like referring to things as being a version of something on steroids. I feel like there's always a better way to describe it than to use that. But hey, yeah, I did a marathon today, and I'm drinking wine, so I'm just pulling for low-hanging fruit. I also listened to the majority of Stephen King's book on writing today. It's called On Writing. And yeah, it was interesting to hear. I remember reading that book in my youth. In my mind, I read it when I was about 20 or so, and it's probably the shortest book. Well, that's probably not true. It's one of the shortest books that Stephen King ever wrote, and it's just an interesting, like, amalgamation of both, like, his comments on the craft of writing, and then also a, like, very, very disjointed autobiography. And I've always remembered certain parts of the book, like that he hates adverbs, and that what was it called, like when you man, I can't think of it, but one phrase that I always really liked, because I feel like he actually is meaningfully in love with his wife. I feel like he actually respects her and that she's a big part of his process and his support system in a healthy way. And I remember him describing his children, like He talks about, like, when they had their first child, he was like, they were neither neither planned for, nor not planned for. They just arrived when they arrived. And I was like, that's a nice way to have children with somebody. Like, don't make it this big, like pretentious, like, thing where, the planets all have to align and everything has to be properly in place. Like, that's a very artificial way for reproduction to occur. It's kind of a luxury that probably has only emerged in the past, 50 years maybe? Like, prior to birth control, the birth control revolution, I assume that the human growth curve was a little bit more of an organic indication of our more bestial habits. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about, dude. Anyway, so yeah, I stopped at this Subway, had some snacks, and then walked about 4 miles east from the west side of Atkins. And that's basically when the rain really started to pick up, I was kind of in denial. Again, I'm like using all these weird little like litmus tests that I've devised myself, where I'm just like, okay, well, if my socks, if they change color at the toe, then I know it's raining hard enough that I need to like put on my rain gear. And at a certain point, it was undeniably raining. And it was funny too, because I was like, man, because I exist in this rarefied like space of like denying that something bad is happening until it's absolutely undeniable. Like, I thought, rain, when it's really raining, like in a proper, driving rain that's going to soak you, I realized it's kind of like when you get sick. Like a lot of people, myself included, like there's this weird phase where you're like, am I getting sick? And you're like not really sure if you're getting sick. And then if you do actually get sick, it's like, oh, I'm definitely sick. Like it's an undeniable sensation when it's actually present, and all of the calculations that occur before that point are kind of moot, because like you can just trust the process of illness, because eventually, if it is happening, it will make itself unambiguously clear. And any suffering that you do before that is unnecessary. It was actually Winston Churchill who said, I believe, I suffered a lot in my life, and much of the suffering never actually occurred. And I like that quote. I used to think it was Mark Twain who said that, but I really like that quote, because I think that like that really captures a huge part of like the human experience, wherein like a lot of the suffering that you do is because of the fear of something, which kind of goes to, I guess, one of the contemporaries of Churchill, because right, FDR said like the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And obviously that's like a cliched kind of phraseology or whatever, but it is true. Like, when something is actually on top of you, then it's time for action and it's time for decisiveness. But prior to that, all of the things that you do in anticipation of that actual overtaking are completely unnecessary. And it takes a lot of fortitude of mind and a lot of awareness and presence to recognize that for what it is. And it's interesting because your body will actually give you hints about things that are real versus things that are perceived. And you can kind of like hack your own system. That's another phrase I don't really like saying. Hacking, biohacking, or, life hacking. It's so overwrought. But yeah, that's something that I try to use to sharpen my own awareness with. Nothing to fear but fear itself. And a lot of the suffering that Churchill did was immaterial. So the rain started and I was in it, and I got several offers for rides, and I turned them all down because I was like, no, I'm actually doing an experiment. I'm trying to see what it's like to walk in sandals in the rain. Like, this is actually valuable data. I've chosen to do this purposefully, and I very much so appreciate your kindness, and I will try to pay it forward. But I don't have any. I'm fine. I don't have any needs. And so, everyone, they passed on and moved on. And then I finally got to the part of Atkins that directly crosses over the trail. And that's where I made my last clip, where I was drinking a beer, waiting for my burrito to be made. And so no need to recount that in great detail, since I already did. And then I headed out. The rain ceased for a reasonable period of time, and I thought, hey, if I don't go now, I'm going to be walking quietly and carrying a big stick, So jumped onto the trail. So I did, I guess, what would it be? Probably like 24 miles on the road, and then 1.7-ish on trail today. And this was really good and easy trail. Like, it was, I remembered every single part of this trail. it was in a very different setting than I think I've gone through it before. But that's one of my favorite things, because again, every time you go through any of these areas, the environment, the weather, there are so many things that dictate your impression of it. And I certainly have never walked through this part of the trail in these kind of conditions with this kind of a mindset. So it felt fresh, and again, it was another good test of the sandals, which I would say failed admirably. Failure is great. All data is good data, and you get more data from failure than you do from success. So today was a success, all things considered. I feel like, honestly, I'm wiggling my toes a little bit. Like, my socks feel reasonably dry, and I really don't think that if I had been wearing my shoes today instead of my sandals, I don't think that they would feel reasonably dry. I think that they would feel like a humidor, like just a box of cigar humidification on my feet, except a lot less smell goody. You know what I'm saying? I think that you do. And yeah. So yeah, it was great. I was walking through pastures. I saw a ton of deer. It was grassy, just like I thought it would be. It wasn't high grass, but it was certainly like I was walking through pastures. So it was a certain type of vibe, And I got to my campsite pretty quickly. It was funny. I was walking with a trekking pole in one hand and then a to-go bag of my burrito in the other. And I was like, ooh, I feel bougie. Like, I've got a liter of wine that I'm walking with. I've got like a takeout burrito that's supposed to be like one of the best burritos that you can get on trail. I'm going to this campsite that's supposed to have a really good water source, and it's not raining currently. And if it does rain again, hopefully I can get all of my stuff set up so that I can avoid it. And, sometimes the trail smiles down on you, and that's exactly what happened today. I got to where I needed to get to, and I am like 96% dry. I think at this point, the only thing that's noticeably wet is my feet, and they're not even that wet. Again, jiggling my toes a little bit, I'm like quite pleased with the level of moisture that I'm perceiving. I might not even need to change into my spare pair of socks for tomorrow. However, I do think that, well, it's hard to say, actually. Do I want to wear my shoes tomorrow? I mean, no is the answer. I don't want to wear my shoes tomorrow. I want to keep wearing sandals, but what will I'll figure that all out tomorrow. Don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? I think that you do. So, I believe I have 2 list items, and if you'll permit me, I will read them, and then I will go. So, okay, so the one person who gave me an offer for a ride today was pretty early in the day. It was like, it was when I was still on like Sugar Grove Valley Road or whatever, before I got to Nix Creek. And it was some guy, he's like a shuttle driver for the Appalachian Trail. And he stopped and he was like, hey, you want me to take you the rest of the way? And I was like, no, thank you. I'm doing this on purpose. Again, it's like going up to someone who is somewhere and saying, hey, do you want to go somewhere else? And it's like, no, I'm here for a reason. Thank you, though. And, I do honestly, truly appreciate the kindness of other people. And I do truly, honestly intend on paying that forward in whatever way I can, to whatever degree that means in the future. But, yeah, this is like a bifold kind of a observation, but the guy who offered me the ride, he said, this road is very dangerous, so be careful. And I've been told that so many times, and I want to knock on some wood, and I also want to give a shout out to my parents. Like, this is not something to make you nervous, because that's not the point. The point is that, like, everyone who has ever told me that a road is dangerous, it seems like somewhat invariably my experience of that road is very tranquil and serene. Like, this road that I was on today was not dangerous. Like, it didn't feel dangerous. I wasn't having to do dangerous things in order to traverse it. And it was actually a bit of a joy, a joie de vivre, if you will. I was just like, this is like totally nice. Like it's a low traffic road that's in nature, and like I'm not suffering for walking on it. So anytime someone, respectfully, I mean this, like I'm not trying to make a definitive statement. I'm just saying, like, up to this point, this has been my experience. Anytime someone tells me a specific road is dangerous, I think that they're dead wrong, and that actually means I'm going to really enjoy the walk. No one told me that the walk to Peekskill from Bear Mountain in New York was dangerous, but I would say that was objectively dangerous. But I was still able to traverse it successfully. But the roads that I've been warned about, like the Rattler, what else have I been on? The Snake, or is that the same thing? I don't even know. These little roads in Appalachia where there's like a lot of switchbacks and stuff like that, they've just been nice. Like, it would have been nice to bike. It was ultra nice to walk. I haven't suffered whatever these people are trying to warn me about. And I don't know, again, if that's skill or luck, but I've been enjoying it. And again, when people say stuff like that, I'm just like, well, okay, thank you. It strikes me as fear-mongering and not necessarily true risk warning or anything like that. And then, so after this guy offered me the ride, I ended up seeing him again, and he was like, he slowed down and rolled his window down, and he was like, "You could have been there already." And I was like, "Yep, you know it. Have a good day." And I was just like, if I had accepted that ride and I had gone 8 miles in 10 minutes instead of it taking 2 hours or whatever it is, it's just like, well, I don't want to be there yet, like that's not the point. Like what is the, like, these kind people who offer me these things don't understand the enterprise of my endeavor. The whole point is for me to walk places. And like, if I get there sooner, that's not a bonus. That's a detriment to my goal. And I say that respectfully. I do appreciate their kindness. And again, I will do my best to pay that forward in whatever degree, to whatever manner I can in the future. But it's just like, I'm not out here to go fast. I'm purposefully going slow because it gives me more time to listen to things, to think about things, and to experience things. And to take 2.5 hours or whatever and compress it into 15 minutes would be such a unfortunate expediency. It would just take away from my actual goal. And, again, I don't know what people think about stuff, but I know what I think about stuff. And it's just funny to me that there is such a disconnect between my perception of what I'm doing versus other people's perception of like what I could be doing. I don't even know if that makes sense, but we're here at like 10% wine left, so you get what you get, and you are, wherever you go, there you are. So those were my only notes for the evening. And again, 3 clips in one day, that's certainly more than enough. So I will leave it there for now, and I will leave you with a classic, Love You Bye. I hope that you're going to have a nice dinner, because I certainly am. Love you. Bye.